Yo, what's going on guys, Arekkz here and welcome back to another Division video. And in today's video we are going to be speaking about the most recent state of the game that has just finished. As always, the guys took down the server for maintenance on Thursday. They had their state of the game, and this week they spoke about some of the changes coming to the 1.3 update surrounding weapons, gear sets, and a couple of other things too. This includes nerfs, but it also includes buffs, and it also includes something that I know that everyone is going to be super excited about. Weapon talent recalibration. But I'm going to save it to the end, so for the time being, let's start at the top. Of course, if you guys do enjoy this video, a like would be super appreciated, and don't forget to leave a comment down below. Now, firstly, let's get the important thing out of the way. As you guys know, the update unfortunately doesn't go live on PS4 until just over a month later, August the 2nd. However, as we've known up until now, PS4 and anyone that doesn't have the Season Pass was going to get an update that would give them some of the things that are coming in 1.3, i.e. weapon balancing changes, one new gear set, a couple of other things as well, some of the new weapons, but of course not the main content in the 1.3 Underground update. However, slight problem they've had in the studio, the 1.3 update will not be going live on PS4 on Tuesday. It will still go live on Xbox and on PC. However, PS4 players, you will also have to wait for just the base 1.3 upgrade. I know that is really annoying, especially considering you already have to wait until August the 2nd. So that is a massive, massive downer, but unfortunately they said they couldn't avoid it. They are going to work on getting it out as soon as possible, but on Tuesday, sadly, you won't be getting an update. Anyway, with that out of the way, let's move on to the weapon changes. So, first up, as you guys know, if you saw some of the E3 videos that I put out, or some of the other YouTubers put out as well, you might have known that, of course, the weapon archetypes that currently don't have bonuses, i.e. LMGs, shotguns, and assault rifles, are going to be getting new bonuses, plus there are some tweaks to SMGs and marksman rifles. So as a super quick recap, LMGs are going to be getting damage to targets out of cover. That generally rolls at around 25%, and it basically means that if you are shooting a target that is out of cover with an LMG, you are doing more damage. Now, it's worth noting that if you are attached to cover, but you're firing over it, that still counts as you being in cover, so that's completely fine. But of course, for all of those out in the open battles, in like the Dark Zone, against players, or against NPCs, then you'll be doing more damage. And of course, the reason for this is because it lends itself to the suppression mechanic. The idea with an LMG is if you're being shot at by a lot of bullets, you then want to get behind cover and sort of, take cover, and in turn that leads to suppression. But basically, LMGs for most of the general kind of Dark Zone encounters, as mentioned, because a lot of the time it's out of cover, will be very, very good. So starting next week, they will be something that you might want to consider. As for shotguns, they will be getting stagger to NPCs. Now, it's worth mentioning that this is only something that applies to NPCs. This is basically something put in place so that if you're doing, say, a high-level activity, like an incursion, and someone runs towards you, like a shotgun rusher, you can then shoot them with a shotgun. They will stagger, and that will, of course, stop them from rushing, and you can then, of course, deal some damage, try and take them out. Conversely, for PvP, at the moment, shotguns at the kind of top end, like the higher level ones, are going to get an upwards 30% damage increase. They should be a little bit more viable even without stagger. However, the guys are looking into a suitable replacement for PvP because, of course, they said they wanted to try and have something like stagger, but in testing it made it a little bit annoying. Of course, the last thing you want is to run towards someone, have them shoot you, and then have yourself, knocked back or staggered and stuff. It would get really, really annoying. So they are trying to work on a suitable solution, but for the time being, it will simply be an upwards 30% damage increase for the high level shotguns and stagger for NPCs in PvE. It's also worth mentioning that the enemy shotgunners do not get this, it's only for our shotguns. Assault rifles, of course, have armor destruction, so that's useful against elites, named NPCs, etc. And that's also going to be a good replacement for destructive, so that way you don't actually have to roll destructive on your assault rifle. You could say roll something else, get one of the new talents, and then still benefit from that. Again, it's only PvE, and for now there doesn't seem to be a bonus that applies to ARs in PvP. Again, they're looking into that, but for the time being, ARs will generally be the same, but it is still worth considering some of the new ones because some of the ones that I got to go hands-on with at E3 are really good, do feel really good, so definitely don't discount them in the 1.3 update. As for SMGs, you guys know that crit chance is going to be swapped out with crit hit damage. So instead of stacking critical hit chance on your SMG along with everything else you have, it will instead provide an increase to critical hit damage, which is actually, believe it or not, a slight buff. Weirdly, they've actually changed some of the base damage values. So the Vector and the AUG have had their base damage reduced by around 10%, and that should help somewhat even out the crit hit damage buff. But regardless, that is how the change works. However, it's worth mentioning that all of those bonus changes, i.e. crit chance to crit damage, the destruction on auto rifles, the damage out of cover on LMGs, and the staggered shotguns, will only roll on anything you acquire after the 1.3 update drops. So they won't be applied retroactively. So if you have, say, a Black Market AK, you won't find that on Tuesday it suddenly has destruction as the bonus, nor will you find that, say, your tactical AUG has crit hit damage as opposed to crit hit chance. That stuff will not be applied retroactively. So you will need to make new weapons and roll new weapons to get those. So the example they gave is, of course, if a Hungry Hog drops for you this weekend, it will not be as good as a Hungry Hog that drops next week after the update. Finally, another change coming to the M1A is that, if you guys know, a lot of the ways that people use the M1A right now is that, of course, they spam out shots. And up until now, there's been a limit. You'll, of course, know that if you spam out too many shots, your reticle gets wider, makes it harder to hit. But that has had a limit up until now, and that limit has been slightly expanded for the 1.3 update, so that way it basically means that it'll be a lot harder to spam shots with the M1A, which should again hopefully bring it down from kind of its place at the top of the pedestal. So that's it for the initial weapon changes. Now switching over to gear sets, they're making a pretty drastic change to Striker and Sentry. Now I know there's going to be a lot of kind of disagreement with this one, and I know a lot of people might not like this. I for one think it needs to happen, because the way the game is currently, people are effectively only going for either the 3-3 Striker Sentry set or the 3-2-1 Striker Sentry Savage. And it basically means that any of the new gear sets are just massively overshadowed. It also means that the kind of damage pool doesn't really change too much. So what they're effectively doing is they are going to be applying a 5-piece bonus to Striker and Sentry. Now, as you guys know, up until now, the way that gear sets work, they have a 2-piece bonus, a 3-piece bonus, and a 4-piece bonus. And of course, the reason Striker Sentry is so good is because, of course, by having those two, you have the 2 2-piece bonuses and the 2 3-piece bonuses. However, what they're going to be doing is taking some of the power, some of the potency from those 2 and 3-piece set bonuses and putting them into a 5-piece set bonus, which means if you want to have the full potency of a Striker set or a Sentry set, you actually have to wear 5 pieces, and that in turn means you will no longer be able to have the 3-3 set. So that means the 3-3 Striker Sentry set, and I would imagine the 3-2-1 Striker Sentry Savage set will also not be viable anymore. Until we know exactly what that change in the 5-piece bonus is, we won't know exactly quite how much of a nerf this is, but the philosophy behind the change is, of course, to try and prevent that. Now, as I said, I imagine a lot of people won't be too happy with this one, but personally, I do feel it's something that kind of needs to happen, just because it will force people to, change the way they play. It will, of course, try and sort of balance out some of the damage output in the top end of the Dark Zone. And, of course, with some of the cool new gear sets coming, it incentivizes people to try things out. So, that is the change. As I say, once we actually get some more details, I will, of course, let you guys know. But that is what they said in the stream. Then, as for special ammo, they're actually making a couple of nerfs to those ones to try and make them a little bit more manageable. Incendiary ammo effect, when you actually set on fire, is going to last for a much shorter duration. And explosive ammo, starting from the 1.3 update, will always be for the exact same damage as the bullet was. Basically, the way that used to work before is that you would fire a shot, and there would then be a secondary explosion, and that explosion could be a really large number. However, what they're now going to do is that the explosion will always match the damage of the bullet. So say, for example, you shot someone in the head and did, say, 25k damage. The following explosion from the incendiary ammo would then match up with that. Now, I don't know whether there's a cap to that, because, of course, if you did end up stacking something ridiculous, it would still be a pretty big explosion, but the point is, it's supposed to mirror the damage of the bullet so that it should prevent people from, say, one-shotting with an M44 and explosive bullets. Then moving on from there, this one I am super sad about, but it is still coming at some point. If you guys saw my E3 footage, then you'll know that one of the guns that I was using quite a bit was this new assault rifle. It was like a battle rifle. It's the one that had the blind talent on it. That is unfortunately not going to be coming in the 1.3 update. It will be coming shortly after, but they're still fine-tuning it. So sadly, if you've seen the gameplay for it and seen how cool it looks, you're going to have to wait a little bit longer for that one. We don't have a date just yet, but that sadly will not be coming in the 1.3 update. And then moving on from there, just a few more things on weapons. So the Showstopper that we saw in the 1.2 trailer will finally be making it into 1.3. And this is really cool. It's a fully automatic shotgun with a drum magazine. And the actual talent that it has, the kind of unique talent, is the Showstopper talent, where it shrinks the reticle the less ammo you have. So basically that means that the more you fire, the closer you get to the end of the magazine, the more accurate the gun becomes, which is kind of like how an LMG behaves, because of course the longer you fire it, the more accurate it becomes. So that's actually going to be really cool. That's something I'm definitely super excited to check out, especially in PvE. If you have an automatic shotgun paired with stagger, that could actually be ridiculously good. As for the G36 family, one of the new assault rifle types coming in the 1.3 update, there are about 3 variations of this one. All of these will initially roll with a skill called Focus, which I spoke about in my new talents video yesterday. This is basically the skill where, when your skills are not on cooldown, you deal more damage, but the second you use a skill, that is of course deactivated. As for the SVD family, one of the new marksman rifles, when you kill something, your next shot is a critical hit, again spoken about in yesterday's talent video. And finally, the PP19 family will have a new talent that I haven't actually seen yet, called Hurried, where the more that you crit with it, the faster the reload speed. So basically, if you were to say, you know, cap out your crit hit chance and then crit for a large portion of the damage you dealt, you would then reload a lot faster, which means you'd be back in the action. And the PP19s also have a larger base magazine anyway, so that's actually going to be a pretty cool combination. But finally, this last thing, this is the big one. This is the thing that everyone is going to be super excited about. It's something we've all been asking for a very long time. In 1.3, you will be able to recalibrate your weapon talents. Now, bear in mind, the recalibration principle will be the exact same as gear. You will only ever be able to recalibrate one of the 3 talents. So just like with gear, if you were to, say, recalibrate electronics and put firearms on it, you then wouldn't be able to go down and, say, recalibrate one of the bonuses to give you armor or an extra gear slot or anything like that. So you will still have to apply that. But if you think about the way that you craft weapons, a lot of the time people get a 2 out of 3 weapon. For example, an MP7 that I got the other day from the Dark Zone is what I would consider a 2 out of 3 weapon. One of the talents just isn't very good, whereas the other 2 I'm actually really happy with. So, as of 1.3, you'll then be able to use the facilities to go and recalibrate your weapon, in turn making it easier to get that roll that you really want. It also means that any of the weapons that come with the fixed talent, so for example, as mentioned, all G36s will roll with focused, all SVDs will roll with the kill crit talent, and all PP19s will roll with hurried. That does of course mean if you don't want that talent, you can still re-roll it, and of course then you would have, say, a fixed talent. So something that I might consider doing is actually re-rolling for skilled, because that's actually a talent I really like having in higher level activities. Either way, recalibration for weapons is coming on Tuesday with the 1.3 update, and that is pretty much it. There's also going to be a special report on Monday, the usual kind of stream where they kind of talk for an hour about some of the new stuff coming, so I imagine we'll also see some new cool stuff there and some gameplay, so definitely stay tuned for that. But for the time being, that is it. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, then a like would be super appreciated. Comment down below if you have any questions, and thanks for watching. Take it easy. Catch you next time. Peace out.